My name is Jake. I'm from physical therapy, and I've got Jen, who is from occupational therapy. We wanted to take a moment of your time to go over a transfer called depression lift transfers. We wanted to cover this topic because we've noticed that it's increased risk of both employee injury and patient injury. So we want to make sure you guys have the tools necessary to make sure you guys were safe. And so what we'll do is we'll do a series of sequences from laying in bed, getting up, and all the way to transferring into a wheelchair. So one of the first things I do when I walk into a patient's room is I introduce myself, and I kind of lean into the bed a little bit just to make sure the brakes are locked. And I introduce myself, hi, my name is Jake from physical therapy, and I want to get you up today. She's okay with it, and she's super excited, so I'm good too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my process to make sure everything is ready, everything is safe in order to complete this transfer. I'm going to make sure that the patient has correct footwear with shoes. I'm going to make sure there's not any water on the floor, any oxygen lines or leg rests, and I want to make sure my gait belt is within reach and my chair is where I want it to be. I want to try to visualize everything that's going to be needed in order to complete this transfer and have it ready so when we are doing the transfer, my primary focus is on the patient and nothing else. So once I've identified that everything is good, I'm going to make sure that the chair is in reach. I personally like to have it here because it recreates the ability for the patient to possibly use this when they transition home and they don't have a bed rail. And it also makes sure that the patient doesn't necessarily have to move their legs over top of a wheelchair when they get back into bed. I make sure that the brakes are locked and ready to go. And notice how I'm using my legs as I squat down and not bending over like this. Once I have the chair ready, I can begin to I'll deactivate the alarms, drop the bed rail, and from here, I'm going to ask the patient to roll over. Now, with this particular patient that's doing a depression lift transfer, I know that that patient's not going to be the strongest patient for me. So I'm going to try to get the patient to do as much as possible, reducing the risk of how much I have to do. So the big part of this is if I want her to roll this way, I want her to raise this leg up. And if she struggles with that, I'm going to get close to her leg, as close as I can, putting this arm out, decreasing how much force or strain is going to be applied to my back, and moving something that's heavier while I'm closer is better ergonomics. Once we get that up, then she can reach across and grab onto that, and by pulling and pushing from here, she should be able to roll. What I don't want to do is I don't want to be grabbing onto an arm and doing this because I could hurt the shoulder by creating a thing called subluxation. And so I can grab my hand and I can put it on the back of her scapula or shoulder blade to help her roll. From here, she can't roll to the floor because I'm blocking her to make sure that she can't come up. Now, the key to this is how much can the patient do? We want the patient to be able to do as much as possible, so we're going to try a couple practice times to see if she can come up. What I want you to do is you're going to drive off to here, at the same time you kick your legs off of the bed, and see what she can do. And if she can't do it, then I want to have to lift her, so I can use the functions of the bed to where I can get her to come up a little bit more. And she can kick those legs off, and I can help lift her up by pushing a button, and I don't have to lift her so that she's successful. The primary point of this is how little force can you apply to help that transfer, because you don't want to end up unnecessarily lifting more than you really should, because that's where the cumulative risk comes to injury. Once she's here, I have everything set up. I'm going to take this gait belt and I'm going to put it low around her pelvis so that I have control of her pelvis. Once she's there, then I can turn my attention. I'm going to put my hand across here. Depends on how balance is. If she's good, I can kind of back off. But what we want to make sure she doesn't do is fall down. And so I can either have a hand ready while I turn my attention to here. Once I lower that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the the armrest out of the way, because it's not a hurdle, right? I don't want to have her have a hurdle to get back into the chair. From here, I can come down, and she's going to weight shift to the opposite direction she wants her hips to go. And I'm going to have my head forward so that she can't lean this way. She's going to put her hands forward like this and like this, and as she leans, she's going to scoot to the edge, and I can use this gait belt or my hands to be able to help that pelvis forward. The big, most important part of this transfer is foot placement. Where patients fall is because their feet are tucked up underneath them, and then they slide off the front of the chair, and then they fall. So what I'm doing to prevent that is making sure that the lead foot is slightly in front, and the this back foot is a little bit further back. And then from here, I can stop and I can control with my legs or my hands to stop the transfer. As she does that, what she's going to do is we're going to be on the same page. So we're going to count together. Are you ready to transfer? I'm going to count 3, 1, 2, 3, because I want to make sure that she's doing as much as she can so I don't have to do as much. That's going to make her stronger. That's going to make sure that I'm not transferring where I need to. And it also gives me an opportunity to determine how much participation she will be doing with the transfer, because if she can't do more than 50% of the transfer, I need to reevaluate that transfer and possibly get a lift, because that would put it in a qualification of a patient lift device protecting you, okay? So we're going to practice a little bit, we're going to be scooting to the edge, and then once she's ready to get close to that edge, she's going to make that leap with that hand, and then do the transfer.
1, 2, 3.
And what you want to be able to do is, even if she can't transfer a lot, if she gets one hip onto the front part of this chair, she's almost there. So you want to make sure that that chair is locked, squared, and your attention is on the weight shifting, hand placement, and foot placement. When she's there, she leans back, and I lock the brake. If we messed up the transfer and she slid all the way to the very edge, one thing we can do to slide her back is make sure her feet are up underneath her. Then I can lean her forward, and I'm locking her knees with my knees, and I can slide her back with my legs, and I don't have to lift her. We want to try not to lift patients because it ends up hurting you. I would like to thank you for your time, and if you've got any questions, please consult any therapist. We're here to help you, and we are a team, and our primary focus is safety. Thank you.